these at 23.
Okay, so I was commissioned to build 2 nightstands with drawers for a client. So we're going to use some poplar. Most of it, or pretty much all of it, we've had in stock already. So I don't have to go out and buy too many materials besides drawer slides and a couple other things like some finishing things. So we're going to build these nightstands first by we're going to mill the lumber. This is a poplar. We have some 6/4, some 8/4, and some 5/4 poplar for pretty much everything. So we're just going to mill it up first. We're going to start with the legs here at the miter saw, and then we'll take it over to the jointer, planer, and table saw. You know, not always in that order, but depending on the condition of the wood and if it's ever been milled in the past from other projects. Sometimes you don't have to take it to the planer or take it to the jointer, but these are, you know, fairly rough. So we're going to take them through all the steps and get them ready. Just the legs. I start with the legs, so that way I can have an accurate measurement of the stretchers and aprons, depending on the condition of the wood. Legs roughed out here, so we need these to be, these are going to be the sides. So I want about 28 inches to 27.5 to 28 inches. I want like an inch to inch overhang from the top, so that will be our 30. So we want to get about 28 roughly here. So 24 3/4. Let's see, I want to. Okay, so we go 24 3/4. Okay, let's write that down. Okay, so this will be our fronts, and these are going to be 20 wide, so we want about 18. $15 3/4. Okay. All right. So now we know we got to cut our stretchers and aprons. So legs we'll put over here. Okay, so now we're going to start milling up our frame pieces here. We have the legs milled up for the most part, so now while we're going, we're going to start getting our final measurements and cut the final length on our aprons and stretchers, now that we have our measurements. And so so that's the next step. We're also, while we're out, we're going to start milling up the top and bottom shelves too, while we're in the milling process here. So we're going to get everything cut up roughly, or not so roughly, depending on what parts they are, like the tops and bottoms shelves. These are going to be rough cuts because we're going to laminate, especially the top. We're going to laminate that, so we're going to do a final cut later. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to get the top ready. This is all 5/4 poplar here for the top and bottom shelves, and the aprons and stretchers we're using 6/4, and we had some 8/4 and 6/4 for the legs. These are, like I said, most of this lumber is from previous projects that I had in stock still. Okay, so I have most of the framing pieces cut up, so now we're going to run everything through the planer, get that final thickness, clean them up, and then prepare for joinery. Okay, so for joining, I'm going to be using pocket holes for the most part for this. It's just the easiest way to build these thinner frames, especially. To me, building these is similar to almost building big face frames and cabinets, because we're going to be using plywood for the sides and back frame pieces, and then we're going to be using just regular thinner stock for a trim and assembly, and also for the bottom aprons and stretchers. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're just going to use pocket holes for joinery with some glue, and we're going to keep milling up some of these bottom shelves and start really concentrating on the tops. So the top lumber is fairly rough, so we're going to have to really run this through the jointer and planer to get it nice and straight, so we can have a seamless glue up when we laminate. This is where the jointer, especially, or a jig for your table saw comes into play here. You definitely do not want seams for your laminate. So before you start your glue, you want to make sure you have seamless joints here, which is very important. Otherwise, you're going to have issues with filling in a lot of gaps with glue and sawdust. And you can do that trick. If there's minute, you can get away with it. But if the better the seam. And also, when they glue up, too, you'll have less bow-in or less chance of other issues, and also less chance of it, breaking apart over time with weather changes. Okay, so now we're going to change out our router bits here, and we're going to put a chamfer on each frame piece. Now that we know what's going to be the facing edge of all these pieces, since we have the pocket hole joinery on the inside, which won't be seen. So now we're going to put a chamfer on all the exposed sides of this lumber. Okay, so once we're done putting a chamfer on each edge, we're going to do a nice quick sanding up to about 80 grit. And then we'll do another sanding after assembly. Okay, so all the initial frame pieces and legs, stretchers and aprons are all sanded down, milled up. So we're almost ready to start assembling just the frames alone. We still have to mill up some bottom pieces, drawers, and drawer fronts, and also upside down V slats. So we still have quite a bit of milling to do. Okay, so what I do for pocket hole assembly, I obviously have my glue, my pocket holes, my pocket screws, or sometimes I'll use construction screws even if it's like a thicker assembly. But this, just use 1.5 inch soft wood pocket hole screws. So I need clamps, spacers. I use spacers to set my reveal. If you look down below my pieces here, I have little spacers laying on the work surface. Clamps, and I usually try to have a square handy to assemble these. As you see here, as I lift it up, you see little spacers there. That gives you my reveal, which is very important when you're building frames. I like to always set a reveal. As you can see here, I lay them down, and then I put my pieces on top of that, clamp them down, put some glue, obviously on first, let the glue, usually like the glue sit for a couple seconds or a minute or so, let it adhere a little bit, and then we'll start clamping it down and then screwing them in as we have everything in place and make sure everything's square. And as you can see here, I'm doing the bottom piece here, and I have also spacers for the bottom, so I know where the height will be, almost like a toe pick. That's where I know my height will be for the bottom shelf. Okay, so now it's time to laminate the tops, and this I'm not going to use anything besides glue. This wood came out really good with jointer and planer. I had 0 seams, 0 bowing, so everything came out real flush. So I didn't think I needed anything to use for alignment or extra strength for the glue up. So I'm just going to use some glue here and clamps. I didn't even need calls really. So now it's the next day. Everything's glued up, laminated. So now we're going to start cleaning up the top a little bit here. We're going to cut to the final length now. Finally. Now that we have everything glued up and everything's looking good, so we get our final measurements. And then I'm going to do like a little thing here. I don't typically like to do this, but with the track saw, it definitely makes it easier. After I get them set, I'm going to put both tops on top of each other here, and I'm going to line them up and get the final measurements, cut them all at one time with the track saw. Just going to make it a little easier and a little faster, and also it's going to make them identical with their cuts here. So you technically don't need a track saw for that. You can use a circle saw with a straight edge. Okay, so now we have everything cut. We're going to start cleaning these tops up. A little high spot on the one edge here, just a tiny bit. So we're going to just run a little hand planer over this, and then we're going to sand it down with the belt sander a little bit, both tops to about 80 grit, and then we're going to start going through our grits with the sandpaper and orbital sanders. We'll start with 80 grit, work our way up to about 180 grit. We're also, as you can see, we're going to run a chamfer on each edge, tops and bottoms of these tabletops. Okay, so now we're getting to the end, the finish of the initial assembly of these nightstands. So now what we're going to do, we milled up this poplar earlier. We're going to cut some upside down V's with these. These are going to be cut at a 30-degree angle since these tables are longer than normal. Typically we cut them at about a 15 to 20 degree angle. These tables are longer than normal, so we're going to be little more of a steeper angle here. So we're going to cut these. We're going to use our stop block on the miter saw to get consistent cuts. We're going to run a chamfer on each edge to make it consistent like the rest of the tables. And we're going to use some glue and 18 gauge brad nails to mount these. These are mainly aesthetic and visual. They're not really a structural part of these tables, but it gives a nice little touch, and it's kind of our signature sign of most of our tables. We put a little upside down V on. Okay, so now we're towards the end of this this part one, and we're going to have part two coming up next. Stay tuned, and that will be mainly drawer assembly and final assembly of everything, mounting the tops, bottoms, etc. So here we're just finishing up everything. We're going to put little cleats in to hold the bottom shelves, and then we'll install everything in part two. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Like I said, go out and build something. Thanks for watching.